You open your eyes, but what you see isn't the familiar bedroom lit by sunlight or Earth's artificial lamps. There is only a cold, blue-silver glow reflected across the curved walls arching overhead. The air smells metallic, faintly ozonized, and a strange silence hangs in the space. A silence unlike anything on Earth, because even the calmest night carries the whisper of wind or distant city noise. Here, in the station, silence feels solid, almost physical. The floor isn't floor. It's a surface made of panels that emit a faint light when you step, adjusting artificial gravity to your body. You feel a slight float with each movement, as if every step is an imperceptible dance between weight and weightlessness. Everything feels familiar and alien at the same time. Today is your first day, or at least what you remember as your first day in this station, but there's an unsettling detail. You cannot discern the rhythm of time. Looking out the panoramic window, Earth appears as a slowly spinning blue and white globe in the void. The vastness of space is silent, relentless, yet hypnotic. The stars flicker with an impossible intensity, and you feel as if you are watching the universe unfold in slow motion, while somehow it watches you in return. You rise from the sleeping module, a padded envelope attached to the wall, floating gently, and try to remember how you arrived here. Fragments of memory flash, a rocket roaring at launch, the crushing force of acceleration, the muffled pounding of your own heart competing with the engines. But something is different. Time here is not like Earth's. Seconds stretch and compress, and you feel your body and mind straining to adapt to this new cadence, the one scientists call temporal dilation. Walking through the station's corridors, you notice illuminated panels and tubes snaking along the walls. Screens display data, but the numbers change so slowly that capturing them instantly is impossible. You try to keep up, but your brain struggles to process a world now moving in overlapping rhythms. Every decision demands more attention. Every step is almost instinctive, because even movement itself is altered in this reality. In the dining area, floating as if gravity were optional, you see other crew members. They move with a near Zen calm, manipulating magnetic utensils and containers that float like tiny orbiting satellites. Some exercise, others adjust instruments or study screens showing energy, pressure, and station rotation. No one speaks loudly. Voices echo subtly, strangely. Even when communicating, there is a pause in perception, as if each word travels slowly before reaching you. You remember being born here, or at least trained and educated to live here. No memories of childhood on Earth remain, only simulated reports, routine exercises, and adaptation protocols for space. Your perception of reality was shaped by simulations, virtual reality, and accelerated learning designed to prepare body and mind for this environment. Today, the station is your world, and space is your boundary, or perhaps your prison. As you explore, you notice the effect of extended time in small details. The coffee you make cools more slowly. Droplets of water float through the air, taking extra seconds to fall. The clock's hands do not advance as they should. Every hour here is subjective, dependent on orbital movement, station rotation, and the internal rhythm your body is still calibrating. You pass through laboratories and research compartments, where scientists and engineers manipulate samples and equipment you barely comprehend. Experiments on temporal dilation, microgravity effects on cells, long-duration Mars mission simulations, all executed with the patience of centuries, as if time had no hurry, and every action were slow, deliberate, almost ceremonial. At one point, a strange vertigo overtakes you. Space is infinite, yet the station feels close, a small floating oasis in the dark expanse. Your body reacts differently, breathing heavier, heartbeat slower, a subtle temporal disorientation. Each second feels prolonged, and you wonder if you are truly awake or still dreaming, suspended in a capsule between worlds. A message blinks on a nearby console. You approach, reading it slowly, each word unfolding as if it has its own time. Welcome to Temporal Station Alpha. Adaptation is mandatory. Observe, record, and await instructions. You try to process the phrase. Everything here demands heightened attention. Even moving a tool or communicating is an exercise in synchronizing with the time that is not yours. Yet gradually, you must internalize it. The station is not only physical, it is temporal, and you are inside it. The day continues. You train, eat, observe, but every experience is distinct. Even sleep feels different, as if minutes pass without the body noticing. The clock's hands do not advance as they should. Every hour here is subjective, dependent on orbital movement, station rotation, and the internal rhythm your body is still calibrating. You pass through laboratories and research compartments where scientists and engineers manipulate samples and equipment you barely comprehend. Experiments on temporal dilation, microgravity effects on cells, long-duration Mars mission simulations, all executed with the patience of centuries, as if time had no hurry and every action were slow, deliberate, almost ceremonial. At one point, a strange vertigo overtakes you. Space is infinite, yet the station feels close, a small floating oasis in the dark expanse. Your body reacts differently, breathing heavier, heartbeat slower, a subtle temporal disorientation. Each second feels prolonged, and you wonder if you are truly awake or still dreaming, suspended in a capsule between worlds. A message blinks on a nearby console. You approach, reading it slowly, each word unfolding as if it has its own time. Welcome to Temporal Station Alpha. Adaptation is mandatory. Observe, record, and await instructions. You try to process the phrase. Everything here demands heightened attention. Even moving a tool or communicating is an exercise in synchronizing with a time that is not yours. Yet gradually, you must internalize it. The station is not only physical, it is temporal, and you are inside it. The day continues. You train, eat, observe, but every experience is distinct. Even sleep feels different, as if minutes pass without the body noticing. The clock's hands do not advance as they should. Every hour here is subjective, dependent on orbital movement, station rotation, and the internal rhythm your body is still calibrating. You pass through laboratories and research compartments where scientists and engineers manipulate samples and equipment you barely comprehend. Experiments on temporal dilation, microgravity effects on cells, long-duration Mars mission simulations, all executed with the patience of centuries, as if time had no hurry and every action were slow, deliberate, almost ceremonial. At one point, a strange vertigo overtakes you. Space is infinite, yet the station feels close, a small floating oasis in the dark expanse. Your body reacts differently, breathing heavier, heartbeat slower, a subtle temporal disorientation. Each second feels prolonged, and you wonder if you are truly awake or still dreaming, suspended in a capsule between worlds. A message blinks on a nearby console. You approach, reading it slowly, each word unfolding as if... The second day on the station begins with an ever-sharpening awareness that time here does not follow Earth's rules. While the rest of the world counts seconds and hours linearly, you experience each moment with an unusual density, as if every instant can expand and contract according to the station's orbit and the rhythms of your own body. The control panels display data that at first glance seems familiar: pressure, oxygen levels, energy consumption, crew heart rates. But there's a subtle, unsettling difference. Each number fluctuates irregularly, sometimes accelerating, sometimes slowing, as if time itself were measured by an elastic ruler. Scientists aboard call it an experimental temporal paradox. It's a complex reality studied for decades on Earth, but rarely experienced firsthand. The station, named Temporal Alpha, was built not only to study space, but to explore the consequences of prolonged temporal dilation on humans. Projects like this gained momentum in the early 21st century, driven by relativity theories and advanced computer simulations. But now, you're no longer in theory, you are living it. In the metallic corridors, crew members speak carefully. Every conversation seems to measure time, as if a misplaced word could stretch indefinitely, creating strange lapses in understanding. There's a silent respect for temporal routines: physical exercise, system maintenance, meals, study. Everything follows a precise cadence, adapted to the temporal distortion the station imposes. Dates are relative. What would be a day on Earth might equal minutes or hours for you. That's why the station's calendars are hybrid: digital clocks, artificial light cycles, and orbital measurements of Earth. Perceiving time becomes a constant mental exercise, nearly as important as the scientific experiments themselves. In the laboratories, you watch experiments designed to study the effects of dilated time on biological and chemical processes. Cell samples age differently, chemical reactions take longer, even the decomposition of organic compounds follows an unexpected rhythm. Researchers record every detail, calibrating instruments, adjusting pressure or artificial gravity, aware that each second is relative but vital for results. There's also a psychological dimension. Onboard psychologists study the crew's temporal perception. Small exercises measure how long a member believes an activity has lasted. The results vary dramatically. Some feel rushed, others excessively slow. The awareness that time is not absolute creates a quiet tension, affecting mood, sleep, and social interaction. Meanwhile, the panoramic windows reveal the vastness of space in constant motion. You watch Earth turn slowly, cities twinkling like microscopic points of life, continents sliding beneath clouds in a rhythm that feels almost like breathing. The station follows its orbit, obeying physics, but each orbit is experienced differently by each crew member, depending on when they began measuring time and their individual perception.
You learn that small changes can have large effects. A few minutes' delay in system feeding can create slight pressure fluctuations, which in turn alter gravity perception in certain areas. Everything requires meticulous attention, even simple tasks, washing hands, pressing a button, calibrating a sensor, become mini exercises in temporal precision. Historical records on board document early experiments with temporal dilation, from zero-gravity simulations to orbital probe studies. They detail successes, failures, physiological and psychological effects, and discoveries that shaped the station's design. Each page, chart, and video reinforces that understanding time is not merely measurement, it is a lived experience. As you familiarize yourself with the station, you realize daily life is a delicate dance between science and adaptation. The routine has strict rules, but they are flexible, shaped by temporal dilation. Physical training maintains health while aligning biological rhythms with the station's relative time. Meals are timed precisely, not just for nutrition, but to sustain attention and alertness cycles. Communication with Earth is limited and carefully programmed. Messages take unpredictable time to arrive, and replies are always temporarily displaced. Every interaction is a constant reminder that you live outside ordinary time, in a present that folds upon itself, where the certainties of your home world no longer apply. The world outside the station feels distant, untouched, yet every movement of Earth, every geomagnetic storm, every eclipse is amplified on board. You become aware of the space-time relationship, noticing patterns that previously went unseen. Each orbit, each passage over a continent is observed with fascination and respect. Temporal dilation also affects your perception of life itself. A minute can feel like an eternity. An hour can dissolve into nearly imperceptible fragments. This awareness transforms every choice, gesture, and breath into something almost ceremonial. Crew members learn to value each instant while enduring the infinity of seconds that seem to stretch endlessly. At the center of it all, you wonder, what does it mean to live when time is not absolute? The station's history, rules, and experiments combine to create an environment where personal perception of time is as vital as any scientific endeavor. Every routine, instruction, and observation is part of a complex dance between physical reality and subjective experience, between past, present, and future. As the station completes its orbit around Earth, you feel both infinitesimally small and infinitely vast. The sensation is of participating in something greater than yourself, living an experience that challenges everything you knew about the world, about life, and about time itself. Here, every second is a story, and every lived moment is a deep dive into the complexity of existing in a place where time flows differently.
The third day on the space station begins almost imperceptibly. You awaken in your sleeping module, strapped to the wall with elastic bands that hold your body against the slight float of artificial gravity. Upon opening your eyes, the first perception is absolute silence, broken only by the mechanical whisper of the air circulation system. Every breath feels heavier than usual, though you know it's just your heightened awareness of yourself in dilated time. Your daily routine is an exercise in precision and adaptation. Breakfast consists of rehydrated, dehydrated foods, their packaging floating if not secured. Every movement, grabbing a spoon, moving a bowl, requires extra coordination. Eating becomes a meticulous, almost meditative dance, and you notice details you would never observe on Earth. The way water forms perfect spheres, the reflection of light on suspended particles, the subtle sound of liquid hitting the container, distorted by the environment. After the meal, you head to the experiment sector.
The laboratories are corridors of glass and metal filled with precision instruments that tolerate no distraction. Each task carries its own temporal cadence. Time seems to slip irregularly. A measurement that would take seconds on Earth stretches out, and a process that should be slow completes quickly. Maintaining the correct rhythm demands constant attention and patience. Interactions with other crew members are equally shaped by temporal effects. Conversations must be paused, because a single sentence can stretch longer than expected, causing a mismatch. Small gestures gain significance. A nod, a smile, the simple act of passing a tool. Everything is amplified by dilated time perception. Each social interaction becomes, in a way, a study of human experience under extreme conditions. Physical exercise occupies much of your day. Running on the magnetic treadmill, lifting weights adapted to microgravity, performing precise stretches, all calibrated to keep muscles and bones functioning properly. Your body reacts differently. Every movement demands attention to the time it takes, as the space-induced temporal dilation alters effort perception. You feel fatigue, but also a strange sense of temporal expansion, as if each effort could be prolonged indefinitely. Meals are a sensory experience. Every dining moment is carefully planned. Balanced nutrients, textures adjusted for microgravity, flavors designed to stimulate the palate in an artificial environment. Even chewing requires conscious awareness, because digestion seems to follow a different rhythm. Swallowing becomes an exercise in synchronizing with both body and surroundings. Hours pass fluidly. You learn to measure time not by clocks, but by artificial light cycles simulating day and night, by exercise and task routines, by the constant flow of the station's orbits. Each activity is interspersed with moments of observation, looking out the panoramic window, noting Earth slowly rotating, tracing the movement of the stars. The vastness of space becomes a reference, almost an external time marker, more reliable than any internal instrument. There are small, almost symbolic daily conflicts. Tools escape your hands and float down the corridor. Systems require recalibration. Alarms go off unexpectedly. Each problem demands calm and reasoning, and also adjusts your temporal perception. A mistake can feel extended, making the challenge longer than it would on Earth, while a well-planned success seems to occur instantly. Every situation becomes a lesson in patience, focus, and adaptation. Sleep enters another altered dimension. The sleeping capsules offer physical security, but time perception makes minutes feel like hours, and hours dissolve into fragmented consciousness. Dreams intensify, often confusing, and you wake with the sensation of having lived multiple days within a few hours. This discontinuity demands mental discipline, and you learn to keep a diary, recording impressions, sensations, and small observations, as if each word could help map the irregular flow of time. Communications with Earth are limited and carefully scheduled. Each message sent is an exercise in patience. You know the reply may take an unpredictable amount of time to arrive. Even with predictions based on orbits and the speed of light, there are always variations that defy certainty. News arrives fragmented, and you must decode what is useful and what is irrelevant, interpreting the outside world from a time that is no longer absolute. Social perception shifts. Small gestures of attentiveness become essential, because the isolation of space and altered time amplify any emotional mismatch. A careful look, a measured word, concern for another, everything is heightened by dilated time perception. Each social interaction becomes, in a way, a study of human experience under extreme conditions. Even routine tasks, equipment maintenance, life support system checks, safety inspections, feel like tests. Dilated time turns small mistakes into perceivably long consequences, while well-planned actions provide an almost poetic sense of harmony between body, mind, and environment. At night, you sit by the panoramic window and watch Earth rotate. Each city, each point of light, each cloud slowly moving across continents serves as a visual marker for internal time. You feel a strange mix of belonging and alienation, part of the planet, yet immersed in a cadence that does not belong to it. The third day ends, and you realize that despite all preparation, life here demands more than scientific skill or physical training. It requires sensory adaptation, temporal awareness, and the acceptance that every second is relative and that every choice, gesture, and breath must be measured not just by the body, but by the perception of a time that flows differently.
What seemed like a typical day on the space station quickly turns unpredictable. You are in the main laboratory when alarms blare, a metallic, piercing sound that reverberates through the metal corridors, even though the environment is silent. The emergency lights flash red, casting shadows that stretch and compress irregularly, reflecting the temporal distortion that has already become part of the routine. Screens display alert signals. A localized temporal anomaly is expanding in one of the station's external sections. Scientists around you try to explain quickly. Time particles appear to behave erratically, altering not only the crew's perception, but also the operation of critical systems. Sensors and instruments emit confusing readings, some accelerating, others freezing, making immediate action difficult. You move swiftly down the corridor, feeling the artificial gravity oscillate slightly. Each step must be calculated because the time distortion affects not only perception, but also physics. The body reacts unpredictably, and small mistakes could result in collisions or falls. The air feels denser, your heartbeat accelerates, and a sensation of vertigo pierces your consciousness. As the crew struggles to stabilize the anomaly, you realize the effects extend beyond the station. Images captured by external cameras show equipment moving at irregular rhythms, almost as if alive, stretching and compressing in space. Temporal dilation, which was once a slow, controlled experience, now manifests in extreme form, threatening the station's integrity and everyone's safety on board. Within minutes, or what your brain perceives as minutes, the situation intensifies. Communications with Earth become intermittent, messages arriving delayed or repeated, as if time itself is echoing backward and forward. Every instruction received requires careful interpretation. Delays may mean danger, rapid responses may be useless, and everything depends on the irregular flow of time. You face crucial decisions: help repair damaged systems, stabilize laboratories, assist colleagues floating uncontrollably, or focus on observing the anomaly's effects to record scientific data. Each action is laden with tension because time perception is so altered that a single second can last hours or dissolve into insignificant fractions. Your heart races as one of the life support panels issues a critical alert. A temporal synchronization failure threatens the oxygen supply. You move quickly to adjust valves and recalibrate sensors, but every movement demands near instinctive timing, each second stretching or compressing unpredictably. A colleague shouts something, but the voice arrives delayed. You catch only half of what is said. Amid the chaos, there are moments of clarity. Calm observation of patterns, meticulous data analysis, and attention to small details allow you and the team to minimize damage. You realize the station is more than metal and circuits. It is a complex organism requiring harmony with both its internal and external time. Every adjustment, every coordinated action is a collective effort to survive the anomaly, threatening to redefine the concept of now. After hours that feel like eternities, the team manages to stabilize the anomaly. The station, though shaken, maintains its structural integrity. You sit in the observation module, watching the Earth slowly rotate and the infinite space around you. Each star, each point of light on the Earth's surface seems to carry its own rhythm, and you realize that the experience was more than a scientific test. It was an exercise in adaptation, resilience, and perception. Living in an environment where time flows differently transforms not only actions, but the very consciousness of existence. Every choice, every gesture, every second gains unprecedented weight. Time dilation ceases to be an abstract concept. It becomes a concrete experience, a constant reminder that time is relative, malleable, and that reality can be perceived in diverse ways depending on where you are and how you observe it. Routines gradually return, but nothing is as it was before. The memory of the anomaly lingers subtly, influencing decisions, gestures, and perceptions. Small moments, a click on a panel, the fluttering of particles, seem charged with significance, each one a reflection of the station's delicate balance between human experience and cosmic rhythm. While you watch the Earth slowly turn on the horizon, an inevitable question arises. If time can be so flexible, if each second can be prolonged or compressed, how do you define the true value of life? The present becomes a fluid dimension where past and future intertwine, and you realize that living here is a unique opportunity to understand the essence of existence, to perceive that time, in the end, is both a physical phenomenon and a profoundly human experience.